And this one is a crucial one, okay? The growth of big departments. Now, the great departments of state in the UK political system, we include the Home Office, the Foreign Office, and the Treasury, okay? And the growth of those offices as big departments of state has led to this position where the secretaries of state for those departments, the Chancellor, the Home Secretary, and the Foreign Secretary, they really don't like cabinet interference in their brief. And so they like to be in charge of their little kingdom. Now, this has led to an increasing amount of decision-making being done in bilateral meetings. Now, bilateral meetings are meetings between the Prime Minister and an individual minister without the cabinet. And a lot of the time, those meetings can come up with a lot of the decisions, a lot of the policy making. If you read Anthony Seldon's book, Cameron at 10, David Cameron had a lot of key bilateral meetings, especially between himself and George Osborne. And there was a key meeting between Cameron's inner circle, which would happen at 8 in the morning and 4:30 in the afternoon. And those are the two meetings you wanted to be. They were the bilaterals that you wanted to be in, because that's where a lot of the key decisions were made. And as Steve Hilton, Cameron's key special advisor, started to fall out of favour, he started to find himself outside those key bilateral meetings. And so bilateral meetings with the growth of these big departments of state is one of the key reasons why cabinet importance has declined. Because a lot of the decision making is actually taking place in little meetings, clandestine meetings outside the cabinet. Now, even the coalition took this concept and in a government where we would have argued that perhaps there was more of a collegiate traditional cabinet style of government because of the fact it was a coalition, it really just wasn't the case, because there was a core executive called the Quad, who would effectively have rather than a bilateral meeting, I suppose we could call it a quadrilateral meeting. But the Quad of Danny Alexander, Nick Clegg, David Cameron and George Osborne would meet for dinner on a regular basis, and that is where a lot of the decision making took place, in the Quad. So as long as policy was approved by the Quad, it would be approved by the Cabinet. And so again, the Cabinet becomes a ceremonial stamp of approval, because we have most of the decision making taking place in bilateral meetings outside the Cabinet. Again, another example that we could probably apply this to is the way that David Cameron worked with Theresa May, because Theresa May was not in Cameron's inner circle, but she was too powerful to ignore, and so Cameron couldn't ignore May at any point. We saw Theresa May actually contend with David Cameron on the proposal to raise minimum alcohol prices, and so you see Theresa May is too strong a figure to be able to dominate. And so actually, instead of give power to the Cabinet, Cameron and May could work together, and Theresa May effectively be given free rein to do what she wants in the Home Office. Now that Theresa May's the Prime Minister, a lot of the articles coming out analysing the way that she does things is she's very hands-on. She is very much into having these bilateral meetings with the ministers, so she keeps tabs on what they're all doing. And we're going to move on to this. She uses cabinet committees in that process as well. So read the article from The Spectator about Britain's Gang of Four, about the Quad, and that should give you some good evidence to use to back up your point.